Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mike Larkin, one half of the Steve and Mike Show. www.steveandmikeshow.com is up and running, where you can hear such shows as you're about to hear today. This is another edition of On the Mic with Mike, and I am on the line with the beautiful Miss Lyla Everwettt. Lyla, how you doing?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Very happy to have you on the show. I'm a fan of your work, and I look forward to talking about your career and just shooting the breeze.
Me too.
You're very welcome. So first and foremost, to get us started, tell us your story, how you got into the adult entertainment industry.
Um, Actually, off Adult Friend Finder was where the craziness all started. I started posting on there, and a bunch of people really liked the videos that I did and told me that I needed to look into doing it more seriously. And I found a photographer, and here we are.
Well, I think with you, because like I said, I think what's great about, we're going to talk about the BBW community as well, but I think what's beautiful about yourself is you got that voluptuosity factor, and besides being a beautiful woman inside and out, so I think that your career has worked for you. I mean, how long have you been doing how long have you been in the industry right now? That's about now.
um, 7 or 8 years total, I think.
So again, you're like a vet, so you're kind of like this. You've been doing something right these last 7 or 8 years.
I guess so.
Well, and I think that's what's great about it, because we look at your scenes, which we're going to get into. I think you could just tell you're having fun, you're loving what you do, and if you're not having fun or loving what you do, then why do it? You know what I'm saying?
Right, exactly.
So I think what's great about you is, I mean, there's so many great things with the BBW community. I'm going to tell you something right now. I was raised by two great women, my mother and my grandmother, God rest their soul, and they molded me who I am today. So I think women are beautiful no matter what shape or size. I think it's wonderful. And then you look at the plus size modeling type deal. You look at people like, Ashley Graham. You look at, to make a wrestling reference, Nia Jax. There's so many beautiful, plus size people, such as yourself. I'm going to include you in that again as well. So the BBW community, just look at how BBW has translated into the adult entertainment industry. It's really a hit, and it's really become a boom in these last many years.
It's definitely become quite the trend. Or not even trend, I guess that's a poor choice of words. But I mean, my first AVN, there was, I think, 5 to 6 plus size girls. And I mean, now, I mean, Eliza Allure had her own booth the last couple years at AVN. It's just a lot more of a BBW presence.
And I think what's great about it is, like, we see like the BBW awards, we see like these exoticas, we see the AVNs. Now, for you, being at those events has got to be a true honor. People that appreciate your work, and you get to see these amazing award shows, how they're done. You get to meet a lot of great fans, so that's got to be very rewarding for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, if you can, if it, can you tell us some of the great like stories, the great interactions that you've had with fans at exoticas or BBW awards, AVNs that really stuck out to you?
Um, Geez, just to put a point on one. I would have to say that the New Jersey Exoticas are always my most favorite. I think that's because it's a lot of the East Coast crowd, so it's kind of people that are closer to home for me. Um, so I don't know. They have a different repertoire with you. Like, they understand when you're in the comb of it all year, and when you go outside and freeze your ass off to make a scene in the snow or pictures in the snow. Like, they have a different appreciation for the fun of that type of stuff. So it's interesting.
And I think what's great about you is you do a lot of work. We've seen a lot of your scenes with like interracial scenes. We see, like you mentioned, Eliza Allure, who's absolutely another one that's absolutely stunning. You've done some scenes with her. One scene I got to mention to you, because you were mentioned in my last interview. Talk about working with Aston Martin. You did a scene with Puerto Rock. That particular scene. Can you talk about what that was like?
That was great. Aston and I both showed up to the location not really knowing what to expect. Thankfully, we have a mutual friend that introduced us. So we have a pretty good relationship now at this point. She's great to work with, and she's great to be around in general. So um, we showed up, and the guy filming let us know we were going to be working with Porto, which was honestly, that was kind of nice because I mean, Porto was actually my first paid shoot. He was the person that I worked with back 6 or 7 years ago for Dusty Baby Dogs. So I hadn't really worked with him since. So it was really cool to get to work with someone old that I was familiar with and someone new that I hadn't worked with. And Aston just has a really good on-set, like, overall attitude, I guess. So it was really laid back, and it was fun.
And I have to say this because I think you two just have a great dynamic, and I'm sure in the future I'd love to see you and Aston do some more scenes together because, again, just two great personalities like yourself. You mix, and like I said, I hope we see that in the future.
Definitely, definitely. We've already been talking about that. We were supposed to have gotten something filmed during EVN. Unfortunately, the wonders of living in New England, I didn't make it. So it's definitely in the works. So we've been talking about maybe doing a trip to New York together or Boston and finding some new talent.
Got you. Now, I think what's great is, like we mentioned, Eliza, again, another beautiful. I want to just go back, woman, I just want to go back to Eliza for a second here because the BBW Awards, like, we've seen, like, the Exoticas, like you mentioned, the AVNs, just the BBW Awards over these last couple of years have really been picking up, and I think that's wonderful to see the beautiful BBWs, the big, beautiful women, the big busty, and whatever you want to call your ladies, you call yourself.
Yeah.
I think it's wonderful that we have that now added to the mix.
It's great. What Eliza has done for the community in general has been amazing. But this award show is just a whole new platform for not only the fans but like other people in the industry to show their appreciation for BBWs and for BBWs to show their appreciation for each other. A lot of the girls promote each other during the voting, and it doesn't seem to be my biggest fear when she started it was with as much drama as there can be in the adult industry. I didn't want to see anybody get upset with anybody for winning their award or, silly things that occur around award season. But Eliza's done an amazing job of keeping everything fan voted and very fair. And the presentation of it all, having the Hustler Club and doing the strip night as well, it's just been really, really great how she's made it all come together.
I have to say this as well, because unfortunately this happens in our life today, and I mentioned because I truly believe this. I think women are beautiful, they're a work of art, come in different shapes and sizes, and I think that's the mentality you have to have because, body positivity and just, unfortunately we live in a world where fat shaming is a thing, which I think is horrible because like I'm saying, you don't got to put a woman down, and I think that also applies to just everything in life because everybody's so judgmental and everybody's got something to say. You got a right to your opinion, but it's just like, mama didn't raise no fools, so I'm just like, if you don't got nothing nice to say, don't say it at all. But I think that's just me, you know what I'm saying? Like I mentioned, everybody has a right to an opinion, but I think, unfortunately, with that being the unfortunate that we have with fat shaming, I think that's horrible. I think it's great to see you guys being shown in a very positive light.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, that just had to be said. And I think I've seen, like, a lot of stuff in the BBW community. For example, Carla Lane is another one. You get to see Shape of Beauty and what she's doing with that documentary. We get to see, like, there's so many, BBW sites. I know Plumper Pass, there's BBW Highway. There's so many out there that really accentuate you ladies for who you are with the beauty and strength aspect of it as far as from a physical standpoint and overall as a woman. So I think that's also wonderful as well. You have to incorporate that.
Yeah, it's come so far, like as far as different companies being more accepting of working with us, and just, like I said, that first AVN, how many people was there, the overall presence, it's come a long ways in the last 5 years. A lot further than I thought it would. We still definitely have a long ways to go, because like you said, there is definitely still an issue with fat shaming. And not for nothing, I mean, it goes both ways. I mean, there's also resentment, towards skinny girls that plus size models have that causes insecurity. It, unfortunately, it's always going to be there somewhat. I think a lot of open conversation would help both sides and everybody just get a little bit more positivity and different insight.
Agreed, and I think it's like I use this saying a lot: united, not divided. You know what I'm saying? As people, it's just like have that mindset about it, Because I mean, there's beautiful skinny girls, there's beautiful big girls. I mean, curvaceous, the voluptuosity factor, like I mentioned before. Like there's so many different types and preferences, all around. Just you know what I'm saying? It's just people just need to have a better understanding and a little bit open minded about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So
I mean, I think that's one of the biggest things that I liked about visiting Las Vegas initially is I've never been in a place that's so free of judgment. I mean, they don't look at you sideways. They don't care what you come out looking like. It's just a very different vibe than you get up here.
I agree. And you know what I'm saying? I think with Las Vegas, I mean, besides Sin City and just the sights and just gambling the whole nine, I definitely, you see that because I've talked to a lot of girls like yourself in the industry that just love traveling to Las Vegas and just being around that vibe, like you mentioned. So I have to concur with you on that. I mean, and Las Vegas in itself is a huge market for the adult entertainment industry.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not it's great as far as that, but I definitely think the vibe there.
Got you. I
It's my
definitely
best
agree.
experience.
I think that's how we have to be as people. Good vibes. Just give yourself some good vibes and good people, and just surround yourself with the positivity around it. I think you're good to go, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Exactly. So I have to talk about because we mentioned interracial scenes, and you've done a lot. Work with a lot of great people, the likes of Jake Banger. I believe Shane Diesel's in there. Juan Largo. Can you talk about working with those individuals?
I love working with Jake. Jake brings a very different element to our scenes. He's one of the few talent that, as I've told 100 people, I mean, he can bring the aggression that my fan base tends to like. He's he's one of those that'll fuck you like he hates you. But he's great as a performer. Shane was great. It was fun to work with. He's very laid back. For as well known as he is, he's very very humble and very chill. Juan was actually one of the first people I worked with at Plumber Pass, and he was very very calm and laid back. He was pretty quiet during our scene. Um, I know Eliza has worked with him a few more times, and they have a different relationship. But, it was I was pretty shy, so but they were all good to work with.
Awesome. And I think with you is too, like you mentioned, like that ruthless side of me. I mean, my pop culture side was kicking in because my inner 9 Inch Nails talk about I want to fuck you like an animal just started playing in my head. So I'm like, well, I think just the overall passion of it, being the passion of it, I think also makes for the great scene. So I understand where you were coming from with that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's when I first started doing this. I mean, a lot of my scenes were a lot more aggressive, so it was kind of nice to have somebody that could bring that level to the scenes again. It's not easy to find as many people as you would think would say that. There's not a lot of people that can do it, so
And I
it was
have
a pretty cool time.
And I have to say this to you, Miss Everwettt. Okay, so Aston brought this up last time. I think with you, it's just you got such a lovely smile, and you got the dimples about you. That really is what attracts us. You got the smile and those dimples. You know what I'm saying? Because it's true. You see it. It's very apparent, and that's what makes you the beautiful woman that you are. So that just had
Thank
to be,
you.
you're welcome. That just had to be said because us men, we like ourselves a good smile, little dimples, make girls laugh. So I mean, I have to just put that out there.
Why, thank you.
You were very welcome. And I think what's great about you too, you as well, is all right. We got to mention this because I wanted to talk with you about this, and then we'll come back to the adult entertainment industry. But you, like myself, and what's very with my network is I get to work with a lot of great people in all facets of life, which is absolutely wonderful because you get to work with and work with a lot of great, unique people. But I've interviewed a lot of people in the wrestling industry, and I talk a lot about wrestling. So for me, like we were talking about wrestling not too long ago. We were talking about the Usos, and it just came out today, unfortunately, that Jimmy Uso got arrested for, public disorderly conduct, and he's out on bail right now. They got a pay-per-view this Sunday, Elimination Chamber. You get to see the women on there, like Ronda Rousey's, your Becky Lynch's, your Charlotte Flairs, and you get to see, just WWE making history with the women and just women in general, because I love, what we're doing for women and the empowerment about it. So I got to ask you, what are your thoughts about seeing girls like Ronda Rousey, Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, and just seeing all these girls just taking over on the wrestling side of things?
I mean, I think it's amazing. Like, these girls put on a hell of a show. I mean, some nights there's twice the athleticism that they put out than some of the male athletes are, As far as which ones are in the spotlight at what time, I mean, they could do better on some things. But, I mean, Nia Jax, her coming out, I mean, that was great. Mm-hmm. The only thing that I feel some kind of way about is, her first, year or so that they pushed her really hard. They kind of pushed her, anti-bully and, being the individual and being, the underdog per se, always been picked on, and now they've kind of flipped her into a bully. So I'm kind of like, you were doing good with your message for a minute, but
I feel you on that, and I think it's ever since the whole thing, with the face burger thing when she accidentally hurt Becky Lynch going into Survivor Series. Like, we see that, and we see her as the heel now, and I mean, it's great to see that they got women's tag belts coming back from the days of the Jumping Bomb Angels in the 80s, and just, you see how far we've come with the women in there as well. And I mentioned Ronda Rousey, my God, what she did in the MMA world, where people like Ken Shamrock, Tank Abbott, Frank Trigger, Randy Couture's, and so many people that had that MMA wrestling tie-in. I think she's done well. Yeah, she's got a girl, Shayna Baszler, Jessamine Duke, Marina Shafir in NXT. So, I mean, I think it's great also that we have that MMA tie-in, and what Ronda Rousey has done for MMA and now what she's doing for wrestling, I think is absolutely wonderful.
I think her coming over to wrestling brought a whole new, a whole new audience. It brought a lot of different people to kind of check it out. I think that gave a lot of opportunity as far as WWE to push the women's division a lot further, which is great. It's all around great. I wish they had a few more girls that were, had an MMA background. I'd like to see them maybe push Shayna to Raw or SmackDown, or separate a little bit of the trio that they got going on NXT, because it's a little played out, but we'll see.
I agree with you, and you know what it is too. Like, I see, with MMA, you also look at Sonya Deville, who's doing her thing on SmackDown with Mandy Rose, and yeah, she's great. And I think they just announced Total Divas. She's the first ever, lesbian couple is going to be featured, her and her girlfriend, on Total Divas, which is great. Breaking barriers there. So I think that's very cool. And I think she's another one that's just amazing at what she does with her craft. You got girls like Asuka. You got so many greats there. And I think, people talk about, it's different now because of letting the girls wrestle. Because, we come from the days of the bra and panties matches and, the pillow fights, which I could tell you straight up. I was at WrestleMania 20 watching Tori Wilson and Sable against Stacy Keibler and Jackie Gata, Miss Jackie, in that pillow fight. And, with the likes of Victoria and Molly Holly on Raw. So I still have those memories of those beautiful, beautiful women, which great and wonderful. But I think it's great because we still have beautiful women now. They're amazing, like you mentioned, Nia, and so many talents. Get to have their, their talents accentuated in the ring, because the girls used to only get 4 minutes, and that was known as what was known as the bathroom break for many matches. So I just like seeing those girls get their shine, because I was at a lot of those shows for where just everybody went to the bathroom. I'm like, I always stayed because I was the wrestling fan. I'm not gonna lie, I stayed through a lot of those matches, and I got to see those girls showcase their skills. So I think, again, it's just we've come a long way with the evolution, whatever you talk about it, however you want to define it. They've come a long way.
Oh, definitely, definitely. I mean, watching Lita and Trish when I was younger, like that was one of the highlights. I mean, I could care less about a lot of the men's wrestling at that point. Watching those two like hook up was, it was pretty crazy.
And they
And
still have the.
hopefully take
Oh yeah,
away.
and they still have the honor of saying that in 2004. They were the first ever females to main event a Monday
Absolutely.
Night Raw. Which, my God,
Uh-huh.
just watching that match, I think you can agree with me. Just that suicide dive that she did where Lita landed, oh my God. You know, you legit thought, like, oh my God. You know what I'm talking about? That suicide dive she did on the
She's
Trish? Yes.
always been just jaw dropping, but she hasn't lost a step.
She hasn't, and that's why I was so happy to see her back at the Royal Rumble and just around. And I think it's great too from the behind the scenes aspect because you got so many great wrestlers that are coaching them, whether it be females or men. You get to see like this next generation come up with what they did in the Performance Center. They now have one in the UK, so they're expanding into the UK. So we're seeing a lot of great talents, you know, come on the come up, and I think that's wonderful for the development side of things as well.
Absolutely. I mean, it ensures that there's going to be future generations. And hopefully, every couple of years it gets a little bit better. Eventually, maybe these girls will be taking out some of the guys.
Exactly. And I think we see that too is because like intergender wrestling, like I remember in the 80s, the Andy Kaufmans of the world with the, the intergender champion of the world and he's, Saturday Night Live and Jerry the King Lawler breaking his neck off the pile driver and to see what intergender wrestling has become because you see it in companies like Lucha Underground and you see it a lot on the independent circuit. So I mean intergender wrestling is kind of on its way back. I know WWE is kind of shied away. I mean we've seen the mixed match challenges which were pretty good, but still, we see intergender wrestling coming back, which is pretty cool.
I definitely think it would be something different to bring back, for sure.
Oh yeah, and I'm gonna say this right now, because I talked about the pay per view that's coming up Sunday, and I'm kind of just tired of seeing Braun Strowman in this feud with Baron Corbin. I kind of want to see Braun because I think he should have won and beat Brock, but they didn't do that, and Brock is now the champion. Don't get me wrong, I was there when Brock Lesnar beat The Rock for the undisputed title, but I'm just like Jesus, I'm tired of seeing Suplex City. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how you feel about that.
I have been tired about it for about the last year. I think he's a great athlete. What they have done as far, or what he is as far as a person, as his character, it's just overplayed. I mean, to have somebody that shows up for pay-per-views and maybe one other live event, it's sad.
It is, and you know what it is too. I think it's just, as we all know, I think he's just doing it for the money. And I like him in MMA. And I like him in MMA too, but I'm just like, Brock, he doesn't need that belt. And that's why I'm hoping that Seth Rollins puts a whooping on that boy at WrestleMania when we come Mania time.
I absolutely hope he does. I mean, I felt some kind of way about, that belt going back to Brock after Roman. I mean, like, Roman showed up, he did what he was supposed to every week, it was back where it needed to be, and then, unfortunately he got sick.
Mm-hmm.
And the first place that they give it back to is the absentee holder.
The part timer, yes.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong,
part timer making the most of them.
And don't get me wrong, I love Paul Heyman. I love his promos, and I will always never get enough of Paul Heyman. But it's just like,
absolutely.
I'm just like, come on. I like just with Brock, I'm just like, come on. And that's what irks people about it. But it is what it is. Like I'll be honest with you. I look at the SmackDown side of things and what they're doing with Daniel Bryan. That cracks me up because I've been a fan of Daniel Bryan since the ROH days, and he's doing that heel vegan type thing. What do you think about what they're doing with Daniel Bryan?
It's funny because some of like
what he's saying is true.
Right. I mean, you see part of that is, his true personality, but the lengths that they've gone to are just, it's comical.
It is. And I think adding Rowan to it, which it's interesting because he's his bodyguard, he's his heavy doing his work, his insurance policy, and that guy ever since when he was with Luke Harper and Bray Wyatt as the Wyatt family and seeing their work in NXT, I always liked that guy. And I know Luke Harper's injured right now, so let's see if they put Luke and Eric together again this time with Daniel Bryan, so that could be interesting going forward.
It certainly could be.
But
I think it's a waste of a big competitor, though. I mean, they don't have enough. There's not enough competition for some of the big guys, not in singles. And I mean, he's a big dude.
I think, okay, I got to ask you about this one too. The Miz and Shane McMahon as the tag champs, the greatest tag team in the world. What do you think about Miz and Shane as the champs?
I I've always been on Miz because I mean I remember his real world days.
Yeah.
Like I remember those episodes very well. So he's always been kind of I could take him or leave him. I think it's a good little gimmick, but I mean I think the tagline that they're using, the greatest tag team in the world, definitely is a little insulting to some of the other tag teams that have, you know, busted their ass together for 10, 15, 20 years. But it's all a gimmick at the end of the day, so.
Very true. Very true. And I think what's interesting about it, too, is like, I think because Mustafa Ali unfortunately got a concussion, so they put Kofi in there, and I like Kofi running the gauntlet this week on SmackDown. I thought that was very cool. And then, of course, Randy Orton, because Mr. RKO out of nowhere just 1, 2, 3 beats AJ, the hardest working man in that gauntlet match, Randy Orton.
Right.
So, of course, he gets the last spot. But, I mean, this Sunday's pay-per-view should be interesting. And then we got another one in 3 weeks with Fastlane, and then we got another one in 3 weeks, which is WrestleMania. So, 3 weeks and 3 weeks of more wrestling on pay-per-view. Well, the network, but still, you know, getting that little in-between time before these shows. So let's see how they roll with it.
Yeah, I guess we'll see.
What do you think about, like, you look at also, like, AEW, like, All Elite Wrestling with, like, Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks doing their thing, and Chris Jericho's involved, and your Kenny Omegas and all these upstarts. What do you think about that promotion coming into fruition?
I think I've heard a lot about it, but I haven't seen like a lot produced by it yet. I mean, somebody pointed out that like they don't have a TV deal or anything like that, so that kind of makes me
okay,
and antsy. Like that's a lot of big names to have thrown together to not have that lined up already. So, I mean, I hope they pull things together, but.
I think we're kind of in the agreement of like you mentioned, like it's let's see what happens, because I'm like, let's not jump to conclusions. Let's actually see how everything unfolds, like everything with storyline wise with wrestling and just in general. And I think you look at Cody Rhodes. I mean, his father's the late great Amok and Dream Dusty Rhodes, baby, wine and dine and kings and queens, slipping down and down on pork and beans, Dusty Rhodes. so I mean, he has that wrestling name, that wrestling pedigree. I mean, his brother is right. Dustin. Hello, Goldust. You know, never forget the name of Goldust. So, I mean, he has the knowledge. So let's just see like how he pulls it off from like I guess a booker standpoint, or just how everything's booked in general. So it's kind of like a wait and see, like you mentioned.
He definitely has the potential.
He does.
It's just definitely a wait and see how they pull it all off.
Now, you see, this is why I love you, because, like, we could talk wrestling about this. And this also kind of goes into the adult entertainment industry, too, because a lot of people, like, because we're coming towards Hall of Fame time again, and people ask, oh, are they ever going to induct Chyna? Which I'm like, yes, because if you don't induct Chyna at least solo, because, they're not going to put in for her work that she did in the adult entertainment industry, God rest her soul, one of the amazing talents, that really another one that pioneered the way for the women that we see today. So, obviously she's got to go in, but I mean, if they put in, like, how they had, like, the Ric Flair as himself, and then Ric Flair and the Four Horsemen, like, Bret Hart by himself, and there's talk of putting him in with Jim the Anvil Neidhart and Jimmy Hart as the Hart Foundation, I could definitely see something where they put DX in there, and I mean, when you think of DX, you think of Chyna, so how do you not put in DX as a group? So that would be Chyna getting in.
Right.
So there's ways of doing it, I mean, if not putting her in solo, but I definitely see Chyna going into the Hall of Fame, which I think you can agree on as well.
I hope so.
I mean, so too.
I don't think that, what she did as far as the adult industry should hinder that.
Exactly. And then the argument comes to, well, look at Mike Tyson. Mikey Tyson is in the Hall of Fame. Yes, Mike Tyson, WrestleMania 14 and what he's done with, and, being a fan of professional wrestling, but Mike Tyson has had his faults, and Mike Tyson is in that Hall of Fame. And people also make the argument about Jimmy Superfly Snuka with what happened with Jimmy Snuka and that girl. Did he do it or did he not, as far as that goes? So, there's some figures in there that are in the Hall of Fame, and our president, Donald Trump, is in the celebrity wing of that Hall of Fame, so there you go.
Yeah, that's just disgraceful.
I know, but well, it's so funny because I think last year, like, Kid Rock went in, and, like, I see these people going in, and I get it because, like, they're part in wrestling, and Drew Carey still is one that really shocks me because I'm like, he only made one appearance. He was in the Royal Rumble, and Drew Carey gets in, and the likes of Pete Rose are in there, and so on and so forth. But I'm like, how do you not add the names like Cyndi Lauper, who, the Rock and Wrestling connection with Captain Lou Albano? Girls just want to have fun. I want to see Cyndi Lauper in there. I want to see Regis Philbin in there because Regis Philbin, huge wrestling fan, has had him on the talk show. So there's so many names that need to be in that celebrity wing too. Lemmy, Motorhead, hello, Triple H, Evolution, those themes. So there's so many other people that we could put in there.
No, I absolutely agree. I think they waited, honestly, a little too long as far as Kid Rock, though, because he has been involved quite a bit over the years. So it kind of felt like that was a little delayed as far as their celebrities, but...
Oh yeah, you're talking about Undertaker rolling, coming out to that. You're talking about American Badass with the Undertaker. You're talking about he's performed at Mania. He's done a lot for them. I still remember Joe C. and the interaction where Edge and Christian, I believe, threw him in like the dumpster on that edition of Raw back in 2000. So, but yes, such good times with that still. But now, I have to mention this to you as well, going back to the adult entertainment industry. There's so many fields. Like, I could tell with you, because I could tell just talking to you and just the interactions, you're a very genuine, you're a very sincere person. That's what I love about you. And besides, like we mentioned before, just the absolute beautiful inside and out about you, Miss Everwettt. But I have to say this to you, I could tell, like, going into what you do, working with so many great people, like we've talked about the Astons, the Elias's, the interracial scenes, and all the scenes that you've done in your tenure in the adult entertainment industry. So I got to ask you, there's so many. Are you pretty much willing to work with everybody? Just because you see like the transsexual porn is like going through the roof. There's so many hotbeds now in the adult entertainment industry, and so many guys or gals, for that instance, have so many preferences, and that's what makes the adult entertainment industry unique. So you're pretty much just. I got to ask you, are you open to work with anybody? You're willing to try those new things?
My biggest thing is vibes. Okay. Like, if I get a good vibe from you, then, I'm open to working. The reason my work is genuine is because I work with people I genuinely vibe with. So, I'm sure that there could be an instance with a transsexual that I could have a right vibe and shoot a scene. I haven't really spoken to anybody currently in the industry. Honestly, I don't go out on a limb and talk to a lot of people. I'm very shy. So, if the opportunity presented itself and the vibe was right, I definitely am open to it. It just hasn't occurred as of yet.
Got you. Well, I'm going to tell you something right now, and I truly wish you nothing but the best and continued success. And I look forward to seeing what future scenes that you do. I know that they'll be great, and you'll be doing your thing. So I truly wish you nothing but the best, and I hope those come into fruition for you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. As we're winding down here, and I'm going to tell you right now, this has been a joy talking to you. We mixed it with some wrestling in the adult entertainment industry, BBW community. We shot the breeze on a lot of great things, and I really look forward to having you back on in the future. I do appreciate your time.
Yeah, definitely, sweetie.
Okay. Now, I always like asking this question as well, just because as someone, your tenure in the adult entertainment industry speaks for itself. You have to work with a lot of great people, to reiterate. So do you have any advice that for anybody that wants to get into the adult entertainment industry like yourself, Miss Everwettt?
Honestly, do your research on companies, on people. Just be educated when you're coming into it. Ignorance and assumptions are honestly the worst enemy in this industry. So just make sure you know what you're getting into.
think that was beautifully said, and that also equates to real life. So that, again, that was beautifully said. And I gotta say this to you because I mentioned this on the last show I did with Ass, and I'm sure you heard of it. So I gotta just tell this story. I think me, as a 26-year-old male that I am now, and just going back to 2005, being the 13-year-old kid, and puberty's kicking in, man. You know, you know what I'm saying. So puberty's kicking my butt, and so what's interesting is like when, like, because we all have that moments, and you know, people talk about preferences and what everybody likes. Like, I just came across, the first time I ever came across like a pornographic material was a website that I don't even know even exists still. It was called Girls Hunting Girls, and it was a scene where, you know, they're in the van and they're, you know, they pick up the girl, and then, you know, what happens? It happens. Literally, it happens. So, you know what it is too, like, and I still laugh at it to this day, just because I think, because you know how with search industries, you're a kid, and I was dumb. I still kind of am. I'm a little bit wiser. I still got a little dumb. I'm a guy. You know, we're guys. You know, we are what we are. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus, as they say. So I'm a guy, and I still remember my dad coming home and like looking at the search in history, and I'm just like, I don't know. I was just searching through the internet, and that apparently popped up. Like, it popped up. So I just, like I said, that always brings me back and just laughs. And I just, you know, just as you get older, you know, like, I don't hide it. That's why I love the guys who say, like, you know, I think it goes back to, like, I remember watching Kevin Hart's Seriously Funny and the stand-up that he did talking about women, you don't know the nasty shit or whatever he said that girls do when y'all leave the house. And he's talking about wear the laptop out and getting out the lotion and stuff, because I think that kind of is true, because any guy that'll say, like, you know, they don't watch porn or when girls leave, I think it's kind of like a cop-out, because it's like, you know, we're guys, you know what I'm saying? That's why I laughed at so much, because I'm like, that kind of relates and equates to real life. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, I mean, you saying that just makes me laugh, because honestly I could say I know probably just as many girls that are probably worse than teens hitting puberty. So yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, I think I just had to equate to it because, like I said, I was raised Catholic, and you know what I'm saying? Like, I get it. And I'm still am. And, you know, that's why I was so, like, my faith and just not judging people for what they do. That's why I love interviewing people like the likes of yourself who are in the adult entertainment industry, because this goes back to wrestling. Because the first ever interview that I heard, and that's why I wanted to get into the industry with podcasting, was, like, I'm a fan of Chris Jericho's show. He's got Talk is Jericho. He's still doing his thing. I remember because I would listen to the wrestling interviews he'd do. He'd have, like, musicians on as well with bands. There was one interview we did with Kenny G that's actually not bad. But I remember the first time I heard Chris Jericho interview Asa Akira, who was very big in the adult entertainment industry. I thought he conducted that very well and very professional. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of how I got into interviewing the likes of yourselves and just wanting to do notes and do research and just, you know, have that professional, like you mentioned, to reiterate a word that you said, Miss Everwettt vibes. So I think that's how you got to approach it. So I think Chris Jericho, the Ayatollah of rock and roll, kind of inspired me to interview such greats in the industry like yourself.
Well, he's a good influence.
He is. I mean, Chris Jericho, are you kidding me? I'll be honest with you. WCW, ECW, that is a guy that will just keep evolving and evolving. And the dude's almost 50. He's in great shape. He just had a great match with Kenny Omega for New Japan. He's all over the place. That's one of my favorites still to this day is Chris Jericho, because I think you can agree he's evolved his character so much. I mean, you just made the list. He got a list over. All he said was, you just made the list. Sticks out that pen, the list of Jericho. Drink it in, man. I mean, come on.
He is definitely he's got an image that, as much as it evolves, you always know it's him, no matter what.
So, yeah, I mean, and there's so many great things like just about just that character in Chris Jericho. When I'll be honest with you, seeing what he does with Fozzy, I think is great, because I love the Fozzy records that he does. I mean, he uses Judas as his theme now when he's doing New Japan and going all over the world, which I think is great, which is a great Fozzy song. So, yeah. There's just so many great tie-ins there, and just to see where he's come from. I mean, from teaming with Christian, who was a great, him and Jericho, Vitamin C, and Christian. Remember the feud with the Dudleys with the ass cream, and they were throwing their clothes into the crowd.
Yep.
Oh my God! See, these are moments that just make you smile. You know what I'm saying? It still just goes to this day, because as a 10-year-old kid, you gotta understand something. Since when I was 2002, and when they were doing like the Billy and Chuck wedding, and they had HLA, on Raw, and your mother just looking at you like, what in the world is going on? It's absolutely hilarious because just that time period, like they were doing such risque stuff, and it was just, as a 10-year-old, you're just like, oh, it's HLA, and then you realize that, I'm like, oh my god, the crap that they couldn't get away with now in 2019, and just seeing how they've gone to more TV PG audience, but still, it's memories like that make you smile.
It definitely is.
It really is, but yeah, just, and they still talk about that stuff, which is still funny today. I mean, you still see kind of that stuff, like, I mean, they just put up their Valentine's Day and just watching, like, back in the day, looking at the likes of Trish Stratus and The Rock, and just looking at, like, so many people that had that stuff. Like, I even remember, like, I was such a big Jeff Hardy fan, because you and I were talking about if they did a Jeff Hardy, Ricochet, who's in NXT, Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, that would be an epic match, because the high octane aerial assault do that in a Mania. I like your style, so that goes with that. It would be insane. And I think, like, I was such a Jeff Hardy fan. Like, I remember, like, before he got released the first time in the WWE, when he was with, they did that brief thing where, like, him and Trish Stratus were, like, a thing. And then his final match on Raw was against The Rock, when The Rock was going to feud with Bill Goldberg and have that first match with Goldberg on pay-per-view. Like, I just remember that. And then I remember seeing, okay, well, obviously Matt Hardy and Lita before the whole, Lita and Edge and the triangle that happened in 2005, and just, my God, those matches. My God.
That was crazy.
And it's so funny, too, because I remember listening to the Edge and Christian podcast that they have now, and I'm like, the Hardys are on that, and I'm like, and they did a table for three with them on the network, and I'm like, it's just so funny, because 14 years ago, these guys hated each other, and they were killing each other over a woman, and now they're all civil, just in the place, and Matt Hardy's all broken and woken, whatever you want to call him, and Edge and Christian are retired, so it all comes full circle,
It does. I mean, those were some crazy days, though. Like, I don't know how those two, like, survived those.
Exactly, and I think what's funny about it is, too, because I would see fans like, I can't believe Matt and Edge coincided or coexist in the same room. I'm like, well, that was 2005. It's 14 years later. Some things, you just kind of, leave in the past. You know what I'm saying?
Right, absolutely.
Like, something from that was in, like, 2005, and both of them have grown as adults. And I mean, I'll be honest with you. Do you watch Impact Wrestling or formerly TNA at all, or are you just strictly WWE?
I used to watch TNA. I really haven't in the last few years. I think more or less because I don't know what network it is on up here anymore.
Oh, you see, Miss Everwettt, this is why I love you, and I'm going to explain this. So I'm about to break it down. I'm talking to break it down DX style. So here we go. So Impact. I remember. Okay, so see, this goes back to Jeff Hardy. Like, I was a Jeff Hardy fan, and my dad goes, well, Jeff Hardy's going to be on this show tonight, and he's taking on the phenomenal AJ Styles for the X Division Championship, and that was TNA's second anniversary show where Jeff Hardy made his debut. And that, when they used to be like $10 on a Wednesday night, and I mean, that was fine, because I mean, $10 on a Wednesday night, hello, sign me up, wrestling fan, yes please. So, and then they started, then Impact debuted the show, not before it was actually called the company, the show, on Fox Sports Net at like 3 p.m. in the afternoon on a Friday. Then it was 4 p.m. on a Friday afternoon. Then they moved to Spike TV, and then they moved to Destination America, and that's where I think ever since they lost the Spike TV deal, I mean, and just because of what's been going on with that company, like, fans started tuning out, because then they went to Destination America, and it's like, who the hell is Destination America? Then they went to Pop TV, and then the Pop TV was the former TV Guide network, and then a lot of people, they get Pop. Now they're on this network called the Pursuit Channel, which is like an outdoor channel that has like a lot of hunting shows and Impact Wrestling, which is just so funny, because it's like mostly hunting shows and one wrestling show, so it's kind of like Home Improvement style, like, you know what I'm saying?
That's different.
It is. And what they do now is, so their slogan is, if you have the internet, you have Impact, because they simulcast the Pursuit Channel, which is owned by Anthem, which is, the owl that Impact Wrestling is now. So that company. So it's owned by that company, but for those who don't have Pursuit, you can simulcast and watch it on Friday nights at 10 p.m. on Twitch. So the Impact has their own Twitch channel. You can watch it on your phone, the Twitch app, or just watch it on the internet. So that's where Impact is right now.
Oh, I'll definitely have to check it out.
You know what it is, too? Like, you see a lot of people come in, like, that were in Lucha Underground. It's because they have that partnership, and you see a lot of people in AAA. A lot of people have come and gone, but there's a lot of solid talent there. Like, there's this one guy, Killer Cross, that's absolutely amazing. You see, like, still a lot of people there, like, from back in the day. Well, they did have Abyss, but Abyss is no longer there. Abyss is now working behind the scenes in WWE. You have a lot of great upstarts and a lot of great knockouts there as well that are doing their thing. I mean, Gail Kim. Gail Kim is another one that we saw. Gail Kim can say that she won the WWE Women's Championship in her debut on Monday Night Raw, and we've seen the work that she did in TNA, so she's helping the girls a lot, and I think What a Better Influence, that's another one. Gail Kim that really helped pioneer the way for women in wrestling.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, there's a lot of talents out there, man. I think internationally wise, you see the girls in Japan, that company Stardom. You see UK with the likes of ICW. There's people coming out of there, and I even say this. I'm like, don't sleep on pro wrestling. You may tune out because it's not like the Attitude Era was, which nothing will ever beat the Attitude Era and the Monday Night Wars that they had. There's a lot of great upstarts out there. There's a lot of, I know you can agree with me on this because the Attitude Era was amazing, but there are a lot of great upstarts in there. I think you can agree with me on that, and you get to see a lot of talent get their shine on, which is very good.
Yeah, I've liked that about NXT and NXT UK. I've actually started watching that a little bit more regularly. I like how you see new people, you see old people. It's kind of different.
And to equate it to the adult entertainment industry, you got your vet. Like I mentioned, you're a straight vet, straight set, 7-8 years doing your thing. Like I said, you got that. You got a little bit of longevity about you, Miss Everwettt, and then you see a lot of these up and comers. Like I say, so there's not a lot of new blood out there. I'm not talking about the new blood in that was it the Millionaires Club that was in the end of WCW. My God, that feud. Hello, tied it back to wrestling there. But in all sincerity and respect to you, Miss Everwettt, you see a lot of the people like veterans like yourself, and then you see all these up and comers, whether it be in the BBW community or what have you. I think that's great. And like you said, as long as you get good vibes, hey, that's wonderful. You gotta have that good tact about you. There's the word, tact. You gotta have good tact.
I don't know if it's tact that I have.
Well, okay. Tact maybe not, but still respect. I think that's a better word. Tact, respect.
That would fit it.
Okay. All right. See, I was trying there. That was a good vocab there. All right. But like I said, anyway, it's an absolute pleasure just having you on. We'll definitely do this again. So this is where I actually step back and say, ladies first. It's not just a Queen Latifah song back in the 90s, but it's also, chivalry's not dead. Treat her like a lady. Temptations. I'm all over the place with this. I can go pop culture all day, 24/7. Anyway, I digress. But the floor is yours. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, whatever your means of social media is and where people can find you, please go right ahead.
The biggest place, I guess, would be my website, bbwlylaeverwett.com. On Twitter, at Lyla Everwettt. Instagram's a little dicey. They tend to like to delete me every so often. So I'm not even actually sure what it is right now.
Okay. Well, before you continue, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
No.
I have to ask the question. What is with Instagram just taking down y'all's accounts? Because I think when I talked to Aston, she's like third account in. Some of the girls like second, third account in. What's the dealio?
Well, technically, sexual solicitation is against their rules. So, they're not wrong in what they're doing as far as their ground foundation. The problem is what they've let go for so long. Now all of a sudden enforcing it, and they don't enforce it unbiased. You see obviously the Kardashians and A-listers that can do and show whatever, but adult talent, they specifically are not a fan of seeing any of.
Well, I'm going to tell you this right now. I've seen some photos on Instagram, and seeing your photos on Instagram and seeing what a lot of people like the Kardashians, I think, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, but I guess I understand the guidelines, but still, I don't see nothing wrong. Y'all are fine with what you're doing, so I hope all comes into fruition with the Instagram for you guys and everything just gets set, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
That's true. You can also look at it from the Destiny's Child point of view, and do you know what the Destiny's Child point of view is from that?
No.
You could say like your body's too bootylicious for Instagram. If you want to put it that way.
That's a throwback.
Yes. So anyway, please continue. Facebook. You mentioned Instagram. You talked about your website, the Twitter, YouTube, whatever you got. I'll put it in the description below this audio.
I don't have anything other than that, really. Facebook always kicks me out too. So.
Right. Twitter.
I did say my Twitter.
Oh, you did? I'm sorry. My apologies. I'm so sorry. My apologies. So Twitter and yeah, and the website I'll put in then. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I gotta make sure we got it all covered because I gotta tell you something. What's great also about doing an interview is you see preferences, like we keyword term that we mentioned with the adult industry, and everything that really equates to life is preferences. Like you talk with people and hear like they just have like a Facebook, or they just have like, oh, I'll have Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram being the three, social media platforms. But I think that's easy set right there. Boom, check out my website and Twitter. I like your style. Making it simple. Keep it simple. It's the old it's the old KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. I like it. I like your style.
Well, thank you.
You're very welcome. So, Lyla Everwettt. This is also again where I step back. I gotta get the last word. Any final words to your fans? Any of your final, your followers that appreciate your work over these last many years?
Just hopefully stick with me. I'm hoping this year will turn things around and be a little bit better.
Well, I'm going to tell you something right now, Miss Everwettt. You are a beautiful human being, and I truly wish you nothing but the best with the utmost sincerity and respect. And people, please go follow Lyla Everwettt. She's a great follow, and she's just a great overall human being. So on that note, I got to say thank you so much for your time, Miss Everwettt.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. So for Lyla Everwettt, triple T's, cross the T's, dot the I's, and that's another thing I have to mention. Triple T's in the Everwettt name. I like that. T, cross the T's, dot the I's. Man, you're just... All right. For Miss Lyla Everwettt, my name is Michael Larkin. Thank you all so much for listening, and I'll be back with another interview very soon. This concludes another On the Mic with Mike. Lyla, again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.